Training, management, and supervision. What do those three things mean when it comes to raising and training and living with puppies and dogs? We'll start with training. Training, quite simply, is teaching your puppy or your dog how to speak English. I think there's a huge misunderstanding when people think that puppies and dogs understand what we're saying to them before we've ever spent any time training them. Dogs speak dog. They don't speak English. It's a second language to them. How do they learn English? They learn it through training. That a single word equals a single behavior, which results in a food reward. And when you reinforce a behavior over and over and over again through training, what we're really doing is pairing the word and the behavior so that when my puppy hears sit, his tail will hit the floor. When he hears down, his body will lay on the ground. So we're word by word teaching them English, which allows us to communicate with them. I can now ask my pup or dog to do something. They understand what that word means, and then they execute the behavior. Prior to training them, they have absolutely no clue. You can walk up to a puppy and scream hot dog, airplane, firefighter, and they'll just look at you the same way they will if you say sit. So we have to just remind ourselves they don't understand English until we take the time to teach it to them. So that's the first step, is training. The second step is supervision. Supervision means that we need to be giving our puppy all of our attention if they are not in a confined, safe area. Meaning, if my puppy is out of their crate, out of their X-pen, hanging out in the house with me, who's watching them? Who's supervising them? We can't just assume that a young puppy or an untrained adult dog is going to be safe in our home and that they're going to make good choices. Puppies and dogs are dogs. They will do what dogs do. They use their teeth in their mouth and they chew and they dig and they rip and they tear. And we're usually really shocked when they get themselves into trouble because nobody was watching them. It's very hard to housebreak a puppy if they never have any supervision. One, because you're not watching them and picking up on their cues where they're probably trying to say to you, hey, I really need to get outside. So when we think about supervision, that needs to fall on the adults in the home or teenagers who are responsible and willing to accept the responsibility of watching the puppy. It really can't and shouldn't fall on young children. They don't have the ability to really handle a puppy. They become easily frustrated. We're giving them this huge responsibility that they're probably not equipped for. And I have 3 children, and as much as my kids are wonderful with our dogs, I never made them the primary caretaker of any of our dogs until they were old enough to handle the responsibility. So when we think about supervision, that falls on the humans. And that means if your puppy isn't confined, you need to know where they are every single minute that they're free in your home. That could be laying in the same room with you chewing on a rawhide, or interacting with them during a game, playing with them, going out in the yard, hanging out in the house with them. But it doesn't mean you can turn them loose and then go and do something else and assume, oh, well, I'm pretty sure he's sleeping in the kitchen or he's probably just chewing on his bone. You really can't make assumptions when you have a puppy because typically we're wrong about what they're doing and where they are. So supervision is 100% of your attention. If you're in the middle of doing something with your puppy and you suddenly have to get called away to do something else, then you need to put them back in their crate or into their X-pen. Don't be derailed by whatever your plans are and you completely forget about, oh my gosh, I forgot where the puppy is. So we just have to be the ones setting those boundaries when it comes to having puppies free in our home. And then the final thing is management. Management really is about preventing behaviors from even starting. Great examples, counter surfing. So many people struggle with dogs who counter surf, and I can tell you, once your dog starts counter surfing and gets a lot of practice, they're going to be surfing probably their whole life. And it all starts with those first couple of opportunities. So if we think about management, it's really managing the environment that our puppy is in. So you keep your countertops clean. You put your food places where they don't have access to it. If your puppy doesn't get that first score off the countertop of a loaf of bread or a sandwich that was left behind, they don't keep going back and going, oh yeah, there's great stuff up there. I'm gonna just keep returning to the scene of the crime. If we can keep the environment clean, and initially when you have a puppy in your home, you may have to do things like keep your countertops perfectly clean and your coffee tables. It might mean taking your favorite decorative plants and putting them in your basement so that they don't learn to go start ripping in your potted plants and tearing them apart. You have to remember to do things like All your shoes need to be in closets or in bedrooms. You need to keep doors closed. So if you don't have the ability to put a lot of gates up in your home, you need to keep all the doors closed to the bedrooms, the bathrooms, areas where your puppy can just wander. We need to keep them off of staircases until we've spent time helping them safely learn how to climb the stairs. And that varies from breed to age for every single puppy. But when we think about managing our environment, it's so many different things, and a lot of it really boils down to prevention. If my puppy doesn't learn that chewing on shoes is a great boredom buster because the shoes are constantly laying around in the home, then as he grows into an adult dog, when he wants to chew and play with something, he'll go to his toy box, not to the hallway where everybody drops their shoes. So the responsibility falls on us. It really can't fall on our puppy. It's our job to train them, to supervise them when they're free in our home, but most importantly to manage their environment, because all three of these things are required. It isn't just one of the three, it's all three. And when you're doing it, you realize you're less stressed because you always know where your puppy is. When you ask them to do something, they're learning how to respond. And your house isn't just this danger zone of things that you never know. Oh my gosh, what could he have eaten? What did they get into? You have to sometimes make a sweep of your house once a day and make sure there aren't any things that have been dropped on the floor. Make sure that nobody left their shoes out. Make sure that when the kids leave for school, all the bedroom doors are closed so they don't go in and eat Legos or whatever else might be in there. So if we just take a few minutes every day to just do a clean walkthrough of our house, then you're going to feel a lot more relaxed knowing that the puppy didn't have access to something. So when you bring that puppy home, or if you have a puppy in your house right now, just try to remind yourself this is a three-part process. And a lot of these things aren't forever, meaning you're not going to have to give them 100% of your supervision their entire life. You're not going to have to manage the environment their entire life. What you do at the beginning will have positive lifelong effects. So in my opinion, it's absolutely worth the time you put into it to do it now versus waiting until they're already establishing these behaviors you don't like and then you're trying to fix them.